Welcome to the True Crime Cafe. I'm Becky.
And I'm Angie, and you won't believe the case I have for you today.
So what do you have this week, Angie?
I have a model murder.
A model murder. I'm intrigued because being a writer, I'm like, was it a model who got murdered or is it like a model of how to murder?
In all fairness, that's a legitimate question because
is it a little bit of both?
I believe I've covered both.
Yeah. Okay. I can't wait.
Okay. A model murder. So Juliana Redding was a 21-year-old aspiring model and actress living in Santa Monica, California. On March 16th, 2008, shortly after 6 p.m., Officer Scott McGowan was sent to her residence to do a welfare check. Upon his arrival, he noticed a small amount of blood on the sidewalk. There were no signs of forced entry, broken windows, anything like that. But his knocking and shouting went unanswered. With the help of another police officer trained in picking locks, they were able to gain entry into Juliana's apartment. Once inside, they were confronted by an overwhelming smell of gas. There was a candle burning on the coffee table. One stove burner was turned all the way up and the pilot light was off. So essentially, somebody was hoping that all evidence of whatever was going on would be destroyed.
Yeah.
Obviously, they immediately called the fire department. As they were standing in the kitchen, the police officers saw Juliana lying dead in the bedroom. During the investigation, police were able to collect a large amount of female DNA at the scene. Blood was found on Juliana's skin, clothes, cell phone, one of the stove knobs, and a plate. The overall scene looked like there had been a hasty attempt to clean up blood. So a neighbor had told police that they heard screams and furniture moving around 9:53 p.m. the previous evening. Like, they were pretty exact.
Okay.
It was also determined that Juliana had tried to call 911, but the call terminated before it could go through. So Juliana suffered contusions and cuts, burst capillaries in her eyes, and the bones in her neck were crushed. So it wasn't a quick murder.
Oh.
It was, I'm jealous of your bright sunshine because it is cloudy as all get out here.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I have to go later to pick up Publix chicken that you and your husband have got us hooked on. So they have their $5.99 few chicken tender, mashed potato, and gravy meal. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that in the app yesterday, when they alerted me to new deals, I was like, well, I guess we're going to Publix to get chicken for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So prior to her murder, Juliana was romantically involved with her boss, Dr. Munir Uwaydah.
Okay.
Who was her father's business partner. So her boss and her dad, Greg, were business partners, and she was dating her boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was he about like the same age as her dad? Was he closer to her age? I mean, does this even matter?
Dr. Uwaydah was in his early 40s.
Okay.
He was a rich Los Angeles-based surgeon with expensive real estate all over the world.
Okay.
Apparently, his multi-million-dollar medical businesses had been under investigation. There was one case in which he conned a company out of $1 million CT scanner. He just never paid for it.
It's one thing to get on the Best Buy and you get your credit card with the free interest to buy a laptop and then no intention of paying it off. But $1 million, like, they're both wrong. But $1 million CT scanner, I mean, that takes some real balls.
It does. Yes.
Like, I've done sketchy stuff in the past with, money and stuff, but never on that level. Like way back, back before settling down and becoming a mother and changing my wild ways.
Business involved managing a pharmacy and developing products for a medical manufacturing company that Uwaydah had founded.
Okay.
In October of 2007, so about 5 months before the murder, Greg discovered that Uwaydah was married and had kids. So he did what most dads would do, and he told his daughter.
Well, yeah.
Juliana then broke off the relationship. Now, 5 days prior to Juliana's murder, Greg pulled out of the business dealings with Uwaydah completely, cut all ties. What neither Juliana or Greg knew was that Uwaydah often hired police who or so, SOO, Park, a 47-year-old real estate broker, to intimidate those who he felt had wronged him. So now we have a female
Like
hit
a
woman.
female intimidator? Like she's going to shake people. Like, okay, like how do you get this job? Because that's no, never mind.
Police very quickly zeroed in on Uwaydah due to his history with Juliana, and then by extension, zeroed in on Park.
Well, yeah.
Police followed her and were able to use a cigarette that she had discarded and sent it for DNA testing. Now, remember, they found all this DNA at the murder scene.
Well, yeah. When are criminals going to learn to like not throw their DNA in places where cops can find it? You know,
not even that. Don't just discard your cigarettes like that.
Yeah, it's bad for the environment.
Duh. Birds don't need your nicotine in their nests.
Yep. And if you live near the beach, it doesn't need to go into the ocean.
Right. Her DNA matched the DNA that was found at the scene. So March 17th, 2010. So now this is, I mean, it took them 2 years, almost 2 years to the day. Park was arrested.
Sounds like they were very thorough in their investigation and made sure they had all their, like, I'm hoping it took 2 years because they were getting all their ducks in a row.
It took 2 years because they had to get DNA to be able to match to what was at the scene.
Wow. That's really diligent on their part.
Mm-hmm. So she pleaded not guilty and was granted a $3.5 million bail bond. Uwaydah fled the country.
Well, yeah.
Possibly to Beirut before he could be arrested.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Beirut does not have an extradition treaty with the United States.
He's still missing.
From what I saw, he's still not been arrested for this.
Yeah.
Park went on trial in May of 2013. Mm-hmm. As most people who follow true crime know, arrest to trial is not an immediate thing.
No.
The prosecution opened their case with the DNA evidence.
Okay.
The defense argued the DNA did not prove Park was the killer because the DNA could have been transferred. Now, remember, she's friends with Uwaydah. Yeah. Uwaydah dated Juliana. They could, you know. And yeah. I mean, that's enough. Yeah.
So frustrating.
But according to the defense, the real killer could have cleaned up the scene and inadvertently planted Park's DNA by using a towel she may have used once 5 months earlier.
I cannot even.
The look on your face right now.
That is like...
So the defense wants the jury to believe that that towel that Park used 5 months earlier had not been washed.
Who goes 5 months without doing? I don't want to know. If you go 5 months without doing laundry, we don't want to know. But who does that?
Our towels get washed like every week. We have multiple towels. So like we're always washing.
Yep. I have beach towels that I use because we live at the beach. My husband has beach towels with his favorite sports teams. I have one with flamingos. The boys have their own bathrooms and they have their own towels. And our other kids have their own towels, you know. Mm-hmm. And then we have a whole set of guest towels from like when my mom was here a couple weeks ago. Like we have different sets of towels, and my husband is OCD about cleanliness, and like Saturdays is wash day, and the washer and dryer just go all weekend long.
So are you ready for this?
Probably not, but go ahead anyway.
The jury believed it.
No.
And they acquitted her.
No.
Yes. Yes.
I did not see that coming.
They acquitted her. So,
like, it wasn't even a hung jury. Like, they all agreed.
They acquitted her.
All, like 12 people. Oh my God.
It was enough to create reasonable doubt. Like, I get because of her connection to Uwaydah, she had more than likely been in that apartment before. DNA could have been left. I understand that, but for 5 months on a towel? Right? Yeah, no.
It could have been a towel from like 5 days before, maybe. But 5 months? Come on.
Mm-hmm. So the police and the prosecutors believe that Uwaydah hired Park to intimidate and scare Juliana as payback for Greg backing out of the business dealings.
Okay.
But something went wrong. Juliana was killed instead of just intimidated. However,
well, you said her throat was crushed and everything, right? Mm-hmm. That's more than intimidation. That's, you know, my kids say that I can intimidate them with a look. I don't have to put my hands on them. There's ways of intimidating people without crushing their throat.
There are, but most people, the easiest way to intimidate them is to hurt their child.
True.
Okay. Not that I'm saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like it's so bad thing. Like don't ever come at my kids sideways, because you will see a mama bear like no other.
So one time when we lived in West Virginia, and this was like within a year prior to us moving here. So probably I'm going to say either late 2019 or sometime like during the summer of 2020. State police showed
after y'all moved here, isn't it?
No, we moved December 2020. I know it seems like we've lived here forever now that we're here.
So I bought my house 2 months after y'all bought yours.
Yeah. Huh, okay. I know it seems like longer.
Anyway.
But state police showed up on our doorstep to talk to one of my children, and they were both adults by then. And I'm like out there with them, and they're like, I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't be here. And I'm like, the heck I can. I'm his mama. Like, I can be here.
Yeah,
but
right?
They were accused of doing something they did not do by a former friend as a means of intimidation. And it was kind of scary because they were nice about it, but they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know us.
Yeah.
And they didn't know the person who called their tip line. Luckily, nothing came of it, and we were able to prove their innocence. But, there are ways to intimidate without crushing someone's throat.
Yeah. Like, I get it. He was mad because he lost his business partner, his investor.
Well, and he was married and sleeping with his business partner's daughter. So he lost his business partner, his side piece.
Unfortunately, the jury never heard that theory.
Really?
The reason why the jury never heard that theory was because the defense disputed all the allegations about Park operating as an enforcer. So the judge said, you can't bring this in. You haven't shown that she's actually acting violently, that she's doing any of the kinds of things you're alleging she did to Juliana Redding. The jury never heard one of the main theories of the prosecution.
Yeah, that makes sense that they would find reasonable doubt, because how good of an enforcer was she if she intimidated people into not telling what she did?
Prosecutor said that in 18 years, at the time, he had been prosecuting cases for 18 years. He had never had that much DNA left at a scene.
Wow. All from one little hotel.
Yeah.
I call BS.
Yeah.
Somebody just needs to get John Walsh to help find him now, basically, because now he's a fugitive.
My guess is, had they heard that theory, they would not have acquitted her.
Yeah, because if I had not heard that theory, I might have believed reasonable doubt. And that gives me more faith in the jury, knowing they only had partial information.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced that the whole towel from 5 months ago.
Did somebody bag it at the gym and keep it in a Ziploc bag?
Right.
And put it in the crime scene? Like,
yeah, like, I don't.
Convoluted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very,
I have feelings, Angie.
You
gave me feelings.
I'm sorry, it's usually the other way around.
I know.
2 years and 2 months after the murder acquittal, Kelly Sue Park was arrested, and she found herself back in court, this time as Dr. Uwaydah's office manager. Park and a dozen other associates pleaded not guilty to conspiracy, lying to patients, disfiguring some in botched surgeries, and cheating insurance companies out of $150 million.
Wow. When you say he was a surgeon, I was thinking probably plastic surgery, but wow. That's a lot of money.
Yep. Dr. Uwaydah, he's living in Beirut, as far as everybody knows, at least as far as other articles I can find. Obviously, he no longer has a medical license in the United States.
Well, yeah. And hopefully he doesn't like change his name and come back and get a different medical license. And
yeah, I think like for medical licenses, don't you have to be like fingerprinted? Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I don't know. Maybe
I'm thinking of something else.
I always think of that movie Bad Medicine with Steve Guttenberg from the 80s. And they learn all their medicine from the witch doctor in Mexico. Yeah. Well, that was wild. I'm looking forward to him being caught someday and brought to justice.
Yeah, I'm going to keep digging on the internet and see if I can find any updates.
Yeah.
The last article that I could find was like 2017. Yeah. And it said he still hadn't been caught.
Wow.
But I mean, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
My guess is he's living his life in Beirut as if nothing happened.
Yeah. Well, I hope that he can be brought to justice. Thank you, Angie.
Stay caffeinated.
And join us next time for another cup of crime.